All right, what's up, everybody? Today we're gonna create a stinger for um, OBS, right? But we're gonna create it um, with a dissolve effect. Now, let's just jump right into it. DaVinci Resolve is very intimidating if you haven't used it before, so I'm just gonna take everything really slowly. All right. So number one, open up DaVinci, and we're gonna start a new project. All right. So let's go to new project. I'm gonna call it decanter, Decanter, and I'm gonna call it decanter dissolve transparent. And what it's gonna look like, it's gonna look something like this. when we go to, it's gonna have that effect when you make a scene transition. All right. So if you're in OBS and you want to make a scene transition, we're gonna make it look something like that. All right. So number one, um, let's see. Can you even see? Number one, we're going to come over here to the bottom left-hand corner, follow my cursor, and we're going to go to Media. Click on Media, and then I already have an image made up, all right? So I'm going to go to my DaVinci stuff, open up my Media, um, take a look, and I want my decanter image, which I don't see. So let me come over to my pictures. And you got to remember where you keep all your stuff. That's the hardest part. Okay, so EC Tattoo Wednesday. That's the one I'm looking for. I'm going to pull this down with a left click down into my media pool area down here and just drag and drop. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in my pink screen. Both of these images are created on a canvas of 1280 by 720. So keep that in mind what your canvas is going to be at all times. Also, the image that I have does not have any pink in it. That's why I'm using a pink screen and not a green screen. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come down here to Edit tab. Just follow my cursor, Edit tab. A lot of these other tutorials move too quickly, and they're very difficult to follow along. So I'm gonna be very slow. Hope it's not annoying. Click on your Edit tab. First thing you want to bring is your pink screen, right? Okay. Next thing you want to put, this is a transparent layer, so I want to put my transparent layer on top of my pink screen. But before I do that, I want to create a fusion composition. So if you come over here to your effects library, up at the top here, click on effects library, right? Then come down to effects, click on effects down here. Then come over to where it says fusion composition. Just on the text, left click, drag and drop. And that's going to be on top of your green screen. Now, the order of the layers is very important. Green screen first, fusion composition second, then your image. All right. So now we have our image here of a liquor decanter. Okay. So we have all three of these images now. I want to make about a 3 second stinger by the time everything's said and done, right? A 3 second transition. Um, and it's going to look something like this again. At the end of the day, it's going to look like that. Okay. Um, so what I want to do is I want to come over here to the end of this top clip, and I want to bring my top clip over. And if you notice, over beside your little cursor, you're going to see numbers. And the numbers down there are seconds. So 4 seconds is what I want to shorten this to. 4 seconds. Then I want to shorten my green screen down to 4 seconds. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to create my effect. So on this top, remember where we made this fusion composition, we're going to left click on that, and you're going to see the red border around it, which means you've selected it. Then you're going to come down here to the bottom, right? Out of your edit tab, you're going to come to your fusion tab. Left click on your fusion tab. Give it a second. Now, this crap right here is very intimidating. So don't be intimidated because it's a lot easier than it looks like. All right. You have over here on your left your media in, and over here on your right is your media out. Okay. So your media out has a little white button underneath it, right? On the right hand side. Come over to your media in and click that white button on your left hand side. So this is the image that you're starting with, and this is the image that we're going to filter through our nodes. Okay. So we're going to create that particle effect, right? And I'm going to show you again what that effect looks like. So it comes into the screen. All right. And to create this, we're going to come over to Media 1, right click on Media 1. Then we're going to go to Insert Tool. Then you come over to, you find Particles in this drop-down menu. Come over to Particles, and then come down to Particle Image Emitter. And left click on that, and now we have that node. Now on Particle Image Emitter, right click, okay. Come up to Insert Tool. Now come down to Particles, and then come down to Particle Render, okay. And let's do that again. Particle Render off that same drop down. So we have our media in 1, we have Particle Image Emitter, and we have Particle Render. Okay, we need to make sure that these are all in a chain right now. So I'm going to lift these two up. And if you notice, there's this line going from media in to media out. I don't want that. I want a chain, all right? Because you have this image, it's going to get filtered through the emitter, then the render. All right. So come over here to this little white box over here at the end of render. Left click, drag, draw a line. Let's try it again. Left click, drag, draw a line. Let's try it one more time. Good. So now we want to connect it. So all our nodes are connected and they're all filtering through one another. So yeah, boom, 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 boom. Okay. So make sure that happens first. All right. Now the next thing that we're going to do is come over to click on Particle Image Emitter. All right. Left click on that. Now you're going to come over to this window on the far right hand side. If you don't see this window on the far right hand side, look on the top right hand corner of your monitor here and click on Inspector. If you don't see it, now click on it again and you should see all these controls pop up. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over to this. If you look here in your window, you're going to notice that this image looks different from this image. And that's a good thing because that means that we're going through these nodes now. So you have your original image and you have your image that's going through these nodes. All right, now we want that particle effect that we've already seen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to the top right-hand corner and you're going to see this brush icon. Left click on the brush icon and it's Style. Now you're going to come down here to where it says Point. You're going to drop down this menu and you're going to come to Blob. Okay. Now you're going to come over here to the left side of this little window and click on Size Controls. All right. Come over to size, and I'm going to make my size somewhere around 4, between 4 and 5. Now, if you look, you have this image over here, and then you have this image over here. The image on the right is a little bit fuzzier because we've actually transformed it by putting it through the nodes. So it's now a bunch of little particles that are going to kind of explode and come toward the camera, all right? So it's going to look a little bit different from your original image. Okay. Now that that's done, come back up to the top. Go to the far left-hand icon over here where it should say Particle Image Emitter. Come to that icon just below it, and that's Controls. Click on Controls. Okay, now that Controls are open, just follow along if this is your first time. Okay, I just want to show you how everything works and where everything is. You want to come down here to where my cursor is and it says Lifespan. Go ahead and jack your lifespan all the way up. All right. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to come down here to the left-hand side and click on velocity. Click on velocity, open that up, drop that down. Now, I'm going to take my velocity up a little bit, just eyeball it to pretty much the same space that I'm doing. And my velocity valence, I'm going to jack that up just ever so slightly. Okay. And if you notice, this image has gotten fuzzier, and it's gotten fuzzier because all the particles are going to start moving differently and independently of each other. They're not going to move together. Okay. And that's the point of this effect. Now you're going to come down to angle Z, right? Don't go to angle Z variance, go to angle Z. Double left click, backspace, and type in -90, okay? And now what that -90 is going to do is going to move that image towards us, towards the screen, right? If you put regular 90, it's going to take the image away from the screen. And that's just a position along XYZ axis. All right. Now what we're going to do, now that we have all these settings set up, okay? So when you go to style, you turn it into a blob. You bring your size up to between 4 and 5. Then you come over to your controls. You jack up your lifespan, take your velocity up a little bit, take your velocity variance up a little bit, and then you change your angle Z to -90. All right, so that's what we're going to do. That's it. Now we're going to preview it. And if you notice over P render here, when I hit play, it's going to take a little second to render. Take a little time here. And that is not what I wanted at all. I don't know why it's doing that weird funky thing right there. But it's rendering right now, and we will check it out here in a second. I don't want to stop at mid-render. Let's go back and check our controls. It's not supposed to do that. So what are we going to do? Lifespan, position variance, all that's going to stay there. My velocity, I'm going to increase it. My velocity variance, I think we just glitched. Let's try it again because it should look like this at the end. I think it just glitched for some random reason. Let's come back and hit play. Now it's going to render. If you notice over here where it says render, you're going to see that green little light above it. And I don't like to mess with it. I don't like to fuck around with it mid-render. So if you see something glitching out, just let it do its thing and then come back to it later. Switch your controls. Okay, so if you notice, we have the image. It's coming toward us. It's doing the little explosive thing. We're good. That's what we want it to look like. Um, my velocity is a little bit too fast. I think it's coming toward the computer screen a little bit too quickly. So up here at velocity, I'm going to, after it's done rendering, I'm going to jack it down just a little bit, ever so slightly. My velocity is a little bit high, so I'm going to jack it down a little bit, and then come over here a little bit. All right, so let's let it. Let's hit play, and you always want to see that little green line working when it's rendering. So that means that it's actually doing its job. And this is where you just mess around with it. Velocity is how fast it's going to come toward the viewer, or how fast the image is going to grow essentially and expand. And velocity variance is how far the particles are going to move away from each other. And you're just going to have to play with that. I'm just letting you know what's going on when you're messing with this little program here. Okay. Let it run through. It's going to render, and then it's going to run on a loop after it's done rendering. And remember, you want that angle at -90 and angle Z. Okay. Now it should start going on a loop. Bam. Bam. All right, so that's good. That's exactly what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and come down here to the bottom, and we're going to come to our edit tab. All right. Left click on your edit tab. And now if you notice, there's a little red line right up here. And what we've just done in the Fusion tab needs to render out, right? So you're going to see this red line slowly becoming blue. Do you notice that it turned blue right here? Give it a second. My computer is kind of slow. Your computer might be quicker than mine. But just give it a second. Let it render out blue. Okay. Now we're going to play. Let's go ahead and play it. And take a look up here in the screen. Bam. That that went a little bit quicker. Let's try it again. So you have that cool effect where it looks like, it's dissolving and then coming at you. So you have your initial image, whatever cartoon you want, whatever image you want, and you can make it dissolve like that. All right. Now the next thing that we're going to do is I want to transform this. Actually, let me show you a little trick that I do. We have it right now. It's at 4 seconds, I think. Let me see. I'm going to move this over. It's at about what? 3 minutes and 20 or 3 seconds, 0.21 or something like that. I'm going to take it down to 3 seconds, 0.10, right? Okay, so I'm going to take that down to 3 seconds, but I'm going to leave my green screen the same, my pink screen the same. Now I'm going to move this over, right? Then I'm going to bring my original image down and put it on another timeline. We don't have to add it to a Fusion or anything like that. Then I'm going to shorten it, and then I'm going to bring it down. And the reason why I'm doing that is because when I changed it, when I when I changed it up with the particles and turned it into a blob, it changes the image a little bit. So I want to see that image just for a brief second normally before it switches over to the particles and blob and then does its thing. You might just want to start out with the particle blob. That's fine too. Now we're going to let it render. Um, and this is only like 10 frames or so, so it's not long. It's just going to kind of freeze, transform, and then shoot out, right? Um, I'm doing this in real time so you see exactly how long things take to render. Okay, now that it's rendered, let's go ahead and preview it. Bam! So we have that decanter, we have that image, and it's going to come toward the screen. So that's exactly what we want right there. But what I want to do is, this is a point where if you have sound effects on it, um, you want to transform this to an MP4. There may be other ways to do it, but the way that I do it is to transform it into an MP4. I'm going to export it, import the MP4, and then we're going to mess with the color scheme. And we're going to do all that right now. We're going to do everything from scratch, essentially. All right. So we're going to come over here to the bottom, and we're going to go to our Deliver tab. And that's the same thing as a Render tab or Export in other programs, right? Okay. Very important. We're going to come over here to Render Settings Custom. All right. First, we're going to name this one. Today is, what's today? The 18th of, what? Is it October? What month is this? September? I don't even know. Whatever month this is. It's 9/18, 2019. Okay, so we're going to call it 9/18/19 YouTube Stinger for OBS. That's a really long title, but I've done a million of these, so I have to keep it very specific. I'm gonna browse where I want it to go, and I'm gonna let it go to let's see, uh, pictures, DaVinci stuff, open. So always remember where you're saving your stuff to. Always remember where you're taking all your files to and all that good stuff. All right. Now we're going to save this as a single clip. Remember that. I'm going to come over to format, excuse me, and I'm going to turn it into an MP4. And I'm going to leave it at H.264 on that codec, right? Um, Again, as I said at the beginning, I do everything 1280 by 720. But whatever your format is, you do you. And then everything else, you're just going to leave it the same here, right? Okay, so those are those settings. Now we're going to add to render queue. Follow my pointer right here. Left click add to render queue. Then you're going to hit start render. Let me see. And yeah, just click start render. And you can see it doing its thing. Okay, so we've now rendered this image out. Um, what what you can do, I believe, what you can do is get rid of this project, right? And then kind of get rid of all the stuff that you created in your timeline, delete it, and then re-import what you just exported. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and X out of this one, save the project so that I have it for later, just in case there was a problem with that render. Because sometimes you're going to get a problem with your renders. You can go back into DaVinci, open it back up. All right, so right now let's let's start a fresh new project here. Open up DaVinci Resolve 16. It's 100% free if you start. I think it's something like 200 pounds or something if you go to like the next level, like if you're making movies and shit like that. But if you're doing little stuff like this, there's a free version of this software. So it's very intimidating, but I recommend it. I mean, once you get the hang of things, it's just like anything else, just like OpenShot, just like Shotcut. All right. So we're gonna start a new project, and we're gonna call this one. What is it? 9/18/2019. 9/18/2019. YouTube Stinger. YouTube. We'll call it YouTube Transparent. OBS. Now we're going to create it. Now, yet again, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to import whatever we're using. Come down to the bottom here to media, left click on media. Okay. Go over to the top left hand corner here, and you're going to get drop downs of where you can import your files from. Now I'm going to go to pictures where I just unloaded in DaVinci stuff, right? We have 9/18/19 YouTube Stinger, what I just created right here. It's an MP4. I'm going to bring that down into my media pool. Okay, and that's all we need right now. Now I'm going to come over to my edit tab on the bottom, follow my pointer. All right. Come up here to this window, left click, drag it and drop it into your timeline. Just butt it up against there, like so. Okay, let me see how long it is, and let's go ahead and preview it. Hit play. Bam. All right, so that's cool. Now I'm going to take my pointer over here. I'm going to come to the very end. I'm going to get those double brackets, left click, and then I'm going to shorten it. And there's going to be a little gray box that's going to tell you how long it is. I want this pretty much to end after the image explodes or dissolves. So somewhere around 3 seconds is what I'm going to do. Okay. Now I'm going to preview it again. Biggity bam. Lovely. Okay, now I want to get rid of my pink screen. And this is what this is where DaVinci shines. I think DaVinci was initially created as a color editor. So this is where DaVinci is going to shine. Knock on wood. As soon as I say that, what happens? Okay, so we're going to come down here to the bottom. We're going to come to our color tab, right? I'm going to come over here to my preview window. I'm going to bring my white tab over here all the way to the end, all the way to the beginning, rather, to the left-hand side. All right, so this is very, very, very important. All these steps right here are important because you need to create a transparent layer, right? We have the pink layer, but we want to make it transparent. That way it's going to look something like this. You can see everything behind the image when the stinger actually occurs. You don't want to see any of that pink. Okay, so what we're going to do is first up, we're going to create an alpha output channel, I think is what it's called. Add alpha output. So what you're going to do is come to this gray area where you see my pointer, right click, select add alpha output. And the way that my screen is, hang on, you can't see it. Let me pull it over. All right, the way that my screen is, your screen is going to look like this. You're going to left click on this little blue box, this little blue button, and you're going to connect it to that blue button you just created when you created your alpha output. All right, so make sure you have that dotted line, straight line, and then this green line going up here. All right. Now, the next thing that we're going to do, and I don't know if I can I move these over? No, I can't. All right. We're going to get rid of the pink color. And the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to come down to here where it says selection range and just follow my cursor or follow the pointer. Left click on that eyedropper icon right there. And then you're going to left click on any area of the pink right here in your preview window. Now, if you notice, we still see pink, but you don't see the image of that decanter anymore. So what we're going to do is come down here to selection range. On the top row, on the far right hand side, you're going to see invert. Left click on invert. Now what we see here is a picture of the decanter, but we no longer see that pink. There's a little bit of pink, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now, everything that you see black in this preview window is actually transparent, and you can see everything behind it. And everything that you see that's gray in this little window over here is transparent as well. All right, now I want to get rid of the rest of this pink. Let's actually go ahead and preview it and see what it looks like. And it's going to take a second to render, depending upon how quickly your computer is. All right, so we have that. It's going to render. It's going to show you on a loop. Okay. Now what I want to do is come all the way to the beginning. And I want to come to my color picker tool that has a plus icon beside it. All right, because we're going to add more pinks that we're going to be detracting. It sounds like a double negative, but we're adding more pinks that we're taking away. Because your pink screen is going to be more than one shade of pink. It's not going to be just one shade of pink. So we have to go in there and find the little shades that we're also going to remove. All right. So I'm going to come over to this main window right here, and just with your center mouse little scroller thing, just scroll in, scroll forward, right? Now we see these areas of pink. Remember to add your plus picker tool and click on that area of pink with the end of it. Okay, so let's pull out. And that's looking pretty good right there. You can be very meticulous if you want to. But let's go ahead and preview this and see what that pink looks like at the end. All right, so go ahead and hit play. We got some pink in there. Let's do another round of picking. Okay, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit control and then scroll up and down to scroll up and down on the image to find another area of pink that I want to make go away, right? And then you scroll in and I see this little, okay, so far so good. We're getting lucky. And I'm going to come over to here. And I hate to admit it, but I think we did not get lucky because if you notice, check out the flower. The flower on this decanter, I think it was purple. So we got rid of that purple color. We don't want that. So since we made that little error, we're gonna hit Control and Z on the keyboard. And you see how that purple came back? Good. So we just undid that action. Um, I'm not gonna be here all day picking these colors. Let's try it again. Let's preview it. Um, let me get obsessive compulsive. I see some pink that I might be able to make disappear. Okay, let's go up here. And let's pick this color pink right here. We still have our flower, we still have our orange, we still have our yellow, we still have everything. I think we may have nailed it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what we got. Let's go back and check it out. I think we're good. I think we're good. There's a little bit of pink, and you can spend a little bit more time with it if you want, but this is a tutorial. I'm not doing all the footwork right this very second. Okay, so now we're good. Now that we have our image, we're going to go back to our edit tab. All right, let's go to edit. And we're going to preview the entire stinger. Okay, that looks pretty good. And again, you can go in and there's a little bit of pink, but it's a 3-second stinger. So it's not like, we're not making a Lord of the Rings here. You know what I'm saying? All right, so we're good. Now we are ready to export it, and we're ready to export our stinger as a .mov. That's what OBS is going to read, a .mov. So we're going to come down here to our Deliver tab, click on Deliver. Now we're going to change this to, we're going to call it EC Decanter YouTube Tutorial. Okay, now we're going to change this location to the same one that we've always been. We're going to take it to DaVinci Stuff. That's in my pictures, DaVinci Stuff. And yeah. All right, so now this is where everything changes, all right? Before we made it at MP4, before we had a single clip, we're going to change everything right now. We're going to turn it to individual clips, right? Check export video format is going to be QuickTime. All right, make your format QuickTime. Codec is going to be GoPro Cineform, right? My resolution is always 1280 by 720. And make your type 16-bit. And that's going to change everything because if you notice down here, we do not have an option to export that alpha channel that we want that transparency, right? So come over here to RGB 16-bit, click on that. Now we have this option that pops up. It says export alpha. Click on export the alpha channel. Now we're good, all right? And if you had sound at this point in the game, you're going to come over here to audio and mess around with your sound. I don't have sound, so I'm not going to give you any sound advice on this tutorial. All right, so now we're going to add Add to render queue. We're all good right now. And then we are going to hit start render. And yeah, it's rendering. If you look at the bottom of your uh computer after you hit render, look on your DaVinci icon and it's gonna have like a little thing to let you know that it's actually rendering. So far I think we're good. I'm gonna X out of this right now and I'm gonna hit save. Save all my projects. I can come back later and get rid of them. Okay, now it is time for the big reveal, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, I don't think I need to move this over here. I don't think I need to do that. It's time for the big reveal. Yes, I do need to move this over here. Forgive my multiple screens. I know that's annoying as fuck. Yeah, let me just go to this for right now. Okay, I can't do that. Sorry guys, I can't do that. Let's go to full screen because I want you to see the controls here. Now on the controls down here, we're gonna come to scene transitions that you see. Follow my cursor right here. Scene transitions. Now I'm gonna come to add, and then I'm gonna add a stinger. Now we're in OBS right now. Just so you know, we're gonna change this to YouTube. We're gonna change it to EC decanter dissolve. And we're gonna hit OK. The name is already in use. Okay, I've made several of these already. We'll call this EC YouTube decanter, and we'll hit OK. Now we're gonna browse our video files. I don't know if you can see that. We're gonna browse our video files, and now we're gonna come over to pictures, DaVinci stuff, and we have 9:18:19 YouTube Stinger for OBS, but that's our MP3. We want, what is the one we just created? EC decanter YouTube. Um, the length is 3. It's a type. It's a .mov. I think this is the one we're looking for. So let's go ahead and open this one up and open. Now, and then hit OK, and that's that. So now let's come over to, and that's the stinger that we just created right there. It's called EC YouTube decanter. So every time we do a scene transition, it's going to do something like that, right? And that's a cool effect. And you can do that with take any image you want, um, run it into DaVinci for free. I mean, you could go over to Fiverr and be like, yo, here's $5, make me one. But, you can also make it yourself. All right, listen, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and I hope this has made your life a little bit easier.